Hi, this is James Howell with a video scrapbook of things that I like about Echo Knight 2. It's a From Software game, which means that you can count on attention to small details, a creative practice that I of course admire. And here's one right at the start. In terms of story, Richard Osmond is investigating the disappearance of his girlfriend, Christina. He goes to her last known sighting, a reserve room at a university library. Inside, he discovers a book that hints at her location. The pages of this book have a low-resolution PlayStation 1 texture for, the content. The text is in English, and I initially assumed that it was the usual nonsensical lorem ipsum filler. I like the English language artifacts found in Japanese games, so I took a closer look, and I discovered that it actually relates to the Echo Knight series. It describes the premise of Echo Knight 1. In Echo Knight 1, the main character, also Richard Osmond, investigates the rubble of his father's house, which burned to the ground under mysterious circumstances. The text here describes exactly that setup. So let's take a closer look. The text is blurry because of the low texture resolution, and the page darkens as it moves toward the spine, so it becomes progressively harder to read. The formatting is flush with the spine, which is an example of the kind of language artifact that I like in Japanese games. Despite all this, the print is large enough and uses a font that makes it possible to read. The page has 12 lines total, and it appears to start with a sentence fragment, but closer observation shows that lines 1 and 2 are the same as lines 9 and 10. That means that lines 1 and 2 are repeats and 9 and 10 have relevant context. So we start reading at line 3. Lines 3 and 4 make a complete sentence. A house was set ablaze on the 15th in peaceful Anchor City. The word anchor is the hardest to read, but it's easy to infer from context, since Richard's father lived in Anchor City in Echo Knight 1, and also there are Anchor City banners all over the library. Next up are lines 5 and 6. Half the house was gutted before firefighters arrived. Now, 2 words in this sentence need context inference. First off, the word gutted makes sense semantically and visually, though I'm actually called to question it because it seems uniquely flavorful for the straightforward style of the rest of the writing. The fact that it's a more interesting word choice than burned makes me actually wonder if I'm reading it correctly. Second, the final word on the second line, I cannot parse that at all. I use the word arrived as a substitute because it makes the most sense, but the actual word is clearly something different. So next up, lines 7, 8, and part of 9. No casualties were reported, but the owner Henry Osmond is reported as missing. The sentence contains the name Henry Osmond, who was the subject of, Richard's quest in Echo Knight 1. Since he's our player character in the game here as well, finding a book filled entirely with the jacked Mobius strip of one of the defining adventures of his life would surely portend another traumatic inconvenience. Guy just can't seem to keep his relations, on one plane of existence. One word here is unreadable, again toward the crack of the book. I've substituted the word reported since it fits context, though the first character is too vertical for the letter R. The last letter certainly looks like an ED past tense ending, but no specific ideas come to my mind. Next up are lines 9, 10, and 11. He disappeared abruptly sometime before or after the fire. All of these words are fairly clear. I noticed an errant comma at the start of line 10, which is, kind of a cute formatting error. Lastly, lines 11 and 12. Police are treating his disappearance as a possible crime, and this one is fairly clear. Stepping to look back at the whole thing, this appears for a total of 9 seconds, and it's moving rapidly for most of that time. I'm a native English speaker, and I had to take a screen cap to even get a sustained look at it, and it took time and inference to get at the meaning. Now, I'm playing with an unofficial localization, and I wondered if perhaps this had been added by the group who made the patch. Loading up the Japanese version, the text is in fact part of the game as released. This could easily have been treated as throwaway material, but From Software actually put content in this texture that connects the story and character of this game back to the first Echo Knight. It's an astonishing level of thoroughness, and one that I admire. In a good poem, every line should carry something on its shoulders, and I really respect when I see something similar in a game like this.